Hi everyone, hope everyone's well. In this video I'm going to talk about setting up your game for Would-Be Aces, my print and play Solitaire World War II game. And what I've got here, I've printed out the different components. So we've got the plain sheets, 1, 2, 3 and 4. They are a straightforward printout, letter or A4, does not matter. And I've printed out and mounted the actual P47 counters themselves here. Now I use MDF wooden wargaming bases for miniature wargaming. These are 40mm. The actual counter art themselves I can resize to anyone's specific requirements, but I've put them as 40. You can also, if you prefer, you can mount them onto card, whatever you prefer. But I like the MDF bases. They're quite chunky. And they're quite robust, and when making various prototypes I have made quite a few of these now, and I just cut them out with a hobby knife and mount them on with some glue, and very straightforward. Now the planes sheets themselves, they refer to the various lanes. So for example, plane 1 is this plane here, plane 2 is plane 2, plane 3 and so forth. Now I like to have a visual representation of each plane as well. So I've also made, so for example with this plane here, I've made 2 counters, these 2 here. They're exactly the same piece of artwork, and I put one on there and one on here. You don't need to do that if you don't want to, but I like the visual representation of the planes. You can also name your pilots, and you can put your pilot's name here. There is also a sortie sheet, which I'll show in a separate video, and you can name your pilots there as well. In terms of the map, again, I've just printed this out on my home printer and made it, put it together. I have found from experience, when you're cutting the map out and sticking it down, I've stuck this down to some card, either use your cut line along the grid there, and I'll provide in the PDFs both the map as one large image and the map in ready to be printable on, again, A4 or letter. And this is actually not one big print, this is actually several prints that I've just cut out, mounted onto the card. Doesn't take very long, it's very straightforward to do so. Gameplay counters, again, I have mounted them onto MDF pieces of wargaming bases. Again, miniature wargame. These are actually 20mm by 20mm, and again, they'll come in that size. But if you have a particular desire to have them slightly larger, slightly smaller, it's no problem. Just let me know and I'll do that. I have resized counters in all my games before for individual requirements. And I've got here just a selection. As I'm going through the sort of latter stages of the prototype, I'm just tweaking a few numbers. The actual gameplay counters, the combination, the mix, etc. I'm still working on, but I'm pretty close to having it finalised, I think. The damage counters, so these are damage counters. They go on the plain sheets themselves. You don't actually have to use counters. You could just mark each one off with a tick or some other sort of device of your preference with a pen. I like the counters, so I've made them so I can just move them along. As you play through the game and you encounter enemies, your planes will be taking damage. These particular planes, the P47s, they could withstand huge amounts of damage, and it's quite remarkable when you see photographs of these planes when they came back to base, the state some of them were in. So to reflect that, there's a huge amount of damage they can take before they are removed from the game. And you move the counter simply down the tracks as you take damage. And I'll show all that in a video about combat. Same with pilot confidence. Conf is short for confidence in this game. Again, I've just mounted them onto an MDF base. And again, that would move down one per pilot on the plain sheets themselves. You will need 2 dice, 2d6. They can be the same colour, whatever. There's no mechanic orientated around that. And you will need a cup of some description. So combat in particular, uses a chit pool mechanic where you are placing certain chits, certain counters into your cup and then pulling from them blindly without looking. And I will describe that in the combat video as well. So in all, it doesn't take long to make. I've physically made this game quite a few times now as I've gone through different prototyping phases. But you are talking 4 sheets for the plain sheets, a couple of sheets. It's about 4 again for the map. I think actually I'll be able to get it down to maybe 3, but certainly 3 or 4 sheets for the map, and then a single sheet for the actual gameplay counters themselves. And again, it's entirely your preference if you prefer to use counters or not. I like them because I like the physical nature of counters and moving counters around. So it's pretty straightforward to make up. I'm not going to go into the game mechanics in this video. There are separate videos that detail how the planes move across the board, how you encounter the enemy, how combat is resolved, and the final destination, which is on the very far right there, the final zone, that is all calculated and worked out with all the mechanics. Suffice to say, you will be, when you're thinking about making your game, you will be in particular moving the pilot confidence counters quite significantly. Pilot's confidence can go up and can go down. It can go up as a result of success in combat. It can go down as the pilots are being hit from flat guns or from enemy planes, or bumping into each other, or near miss collisions, etc., etc. It's one of the key mechanics for the game. But I have found, certainly making the counters and making the sheets for this type of war game, it's this version you've got here in front of the camera. I've played this a huge amount, and most evenings for the last sort of year or so as I've been developing the game, that's why I like these MDF bases, because I play the game a lot. So in testing, so I don't want to keep making counters all the time. So yeah, any questions? Feel free to put something in the comments section, or contact me directly and I'll try and help. I have done videos in the past of how I make my counters for my other print and play games, so feel free to check those out. But it's very straightforward. Cut them out with a hobby knife or scalpel. Some of them I've even used scissors, to be fair, and then stick them onto bases or card, entirely your preference. So thanks a lot for watching, as always. Thank you.